So there's a picture that rings out in my head, and it was in my 7th grade science room, and it was a poster of this little kid, and next to it was like this Major League Baseball player, and it said, every expert was once a beginner.
Oh, I love it. I
Yep.
love it.
And you got to keep that in mind.
What's up, everybody? It's Austin Rutherford here. Today I have a very special guest, and it kind of hits home to me because just 16 months ago, he was the man shooting behind the camera. And now we're sitting in one of his houses, one of 13 houses that he's flipped over the last 16 months. So, brother, I appreciate you being here. I'm happy to have you on today.
For sure, super excited.
Absolutely. So just kind of, tell them kind of who you are, where you're from, and, what all you got going on currently.
Cool. Yeah, so to give the short of it, I think I lived a very friggin' normal life. And when we kind of came into each other, it was just like every day, 9 to 5, everything was good. I was comfortable, no problem paying the bills, going on vacation. Working a 9 to 5, yep. Working a 9 to 5, I was doing videography, but I knew there was something more. I just had never been around someone that I could actually like conceptualize what that looked like and actually draw a straight line path. So I was working as a videographer. So as he said, I was the man behind the camera. Right out of college, I was making like $35K a year. Yeah, I think when we met, I was making like $50K a year. And I just wanted more. So I DM'd you on Instagram. And I think you were getting into content. And I was like, hey, I'll trade you free content. You teach me everything you need to know about real estate. And then probably 2-3 months into us working together, I bought my first flip. And now things are steamrolling where we're picking up 3 to 4 a month and 3 in contract just yesterday.
I love it. I love it. So I want to take it back though. A lot of people ask me like, how do you learn? How do you find somebody to learn from? But you messaged me on Instagram and the first message wasn't like, hey, teach me real estate. It was, yo, Austin, I respect what you got going on. You're crushing it. I think I can add immense value to you. You led with value.
Yep.
And said you're starting the videography, the content thing. That's what I do. Let me do it for free. I just want to roll with you and learn everything I can.
Yeah.
That you lead with value though. Like when you lead with an ask, you usually don't get what you want. But I needed that. That was crazy value to me.
Right.
And it was a win-win across the board.
Yeah, like if you're trying to learn from someone, like you have a unique skill set. Sure. Maybe you know how to lay brickwork. Hey, Austin, you're doing 7 flips a month. Can I go do brickwork for you for free? Whatever it is. I think you just have to be so set on the end goal that you're gonna do whatever you take, and you just look down deep and say, what am I skillful? Where can I add value?
For sure.
And figure it out.
And even if you don't have a skill, cut the grass. That's not a skill.
Cut the
but
grass.
Anybody can cut the grass.
Yep.
So no, I love it. And obviously I took him up on it because I needed help and he helped me a ton. If you actually scroll back to the beginning of YouTube, the first few videos were with him. So I appreciate you, brother.
They weren't as good as they are now, so shout out.
But no, let's talk about it. You went from holding a camera
to
starting to flip houses. What did that first house, what made you pull the trigger? Why? What did that look like?
Yeah, so my biggest thing in life is we'll just figure it out. And I don't know if this is great advice, but I'm totally okay saying it, is on your first 1, 2, 3 deals, you don't have to make a lot of money. You don't have to hit a home run. I'd even say if you lost $5,000 on your first deal, that's a win if you still want to do it at the end of the day. Because here's the thing, if you are so set that this is going to work and I'm going to make it happen, a lot of people just want to spin their wheels doing this and afraid to take the action. And if you're okay, hey, if I even lose 5,000, but hey, I'm still working this other job so I know I'm good, cool, you're gonna make it happen. I'll get it on the next one. And so that's actually what I went into. I bought a foreclosure and I didn't know how much I was gonna make. I just didn't think that I was gonna lose. And I ended up making about $5,000 on the flip. Yeah, so I made $5,000 on the flip. And that is my favorite flip in the world because it propelled me, it gave me the knowledge of raising private money, working and managing contractors, actually knowing how to do a rehab. And it taught me the business. It taught me an entire business for $5,000. I got paid $5,000 to learn a business. So from that aspect, that's a home run to me.
When you bought that first house, did you know everything?
No, I knew nothing.
Did you know how to manage contractors?
No.
Did you know how to buy material?
No.
Did you know how to sell a house?
No.
But you learned it.
Learned it.
People say ready, aim, fire.
Yep.
I say fire, ready, aim, which is what you just said. So I love that.
Yeah.
Make the commitment and then figure the rest out.
Yep.
And as long as you buy the deal and it has enough margin of profit, you know, you can screw up a lot. Like my first deal, I made 100 grand in profit. You know, I lost a lot of money during that rehab from lessons that I learned.
Yeah.
So don't buy a deal hoping to make 5K because like that can go south very quickly.
Yep.
That first deal, you made 5K.
Yeah.
What did you think you were going to make? 30?
40.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you had margin of error.
Yep.
So no, I love it. But you got in the game, you got started. And then what was the transition after that? Like, when did you buy the next house or the next few houses? How long did it take you to kind of get rolling?
Yeah, so the next one, it was kind of on that same gear. Like I knew I wasn't gonna lose. The property was a few blocks from my house. I had some private money lined up, and so we just went for it. So on that next one, I made $1,600, which is probably crazy because you're like, but here's the thing. That lined me up to do so well right now. If I stopped working, it's June 24th. If I stopped working right now, I'd profit $250K.
I love it.
Yeah, which is 5 times my salary at that point.
Yep.
Just yesterday, I got 3 in contract, 1 flip. It'll be about $40K profit,
Yep.
and 2 duplexes that should bring in about $650, $700 a month.
I love it, bro.
Yeah.
I love it. So let's take it back to private money. I get that question all the time. On your first deal, you didn't use your own money, right?
Correct.
You used private money.
Yep.
What did you pay for that private money?
So that's why I didn't make a lot. Again, this, like my first 2 deals, the way that I looked at growing my business, I knew that flipping homes wasn't a get rich quick scheme, and that I was okay working a job and then all hours outside before 9 a.m. and way after 5 p.m. late into the night was gonna be dedicated to the side. So I knew that all I needed to do was learn the business. So I offered up 50% profit split on my first one. So I had a private lender. I didn't have to go to hard money.
And they funded 100%.
100% of the deal. And so we split it 50-50. And I would have done that 10 times over if I had to start again tomorrow.
That's what I was headed to. Because everybody is like, well, I don't want to give 50% equity.
Yeah.
It's never the cost of the money, it's the availability of the money. You got to do a deal to learn a business with none of your own money, and you made $5 grand.
Yep.
Like long term, as you grow and as you do more deals, are you still paying 50%?
No.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like, get into the game, get the experience, get the knowledge, get the credibility of case studies of past deals, and it becomes way easier to raise money at reasonable interest rates. What are you paying now?
Flat 12, and now I have so many lenders that we're turning money down for deals, and so, you know, as you get to that point, now it's looking like we're having conversations at 10%. So, you know, and again, I only bought the first flip 13 months ago.
Yeah.
So it's still so fresh.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So start out, no matter what you have to pay, it's the availability of the money.
Yep.
Get the credibility, and then ideally get to 8, 10, 12%.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then like that, to me, that's great money. Like I'll borrow money at that all day, every day.
Yep.
You know, when you get into the 20% or equity portions, like that's when it kind of gets expensive. But get started. You know, it's not the cost, it's the availability.
Yep. If you want to make it happen and you're committed to it, sacrificing maybe lower profit deals or splitting your profits for the first few or the first 6 months or the first year, if you're going to make this a part of your lifestyle, that's great. If I sacrificed a year of my life, let's say I would have done 5 flips and I would have made $5,000 and $1,600 on all of them. I would have done that all over because, again, it set me up in the place where now, not even 16 months later from just the first message to you, I'm on a completely different trajectory that I could have never imagined.
I love it, man.
For sure.
So we're in a house of yours. We're going to walk through in just a second, but what does your business look like today? How many projects do you have going on? Do you have any rentals? Have it just been flips? Like, what does it look like today?
Yeah, so right now we have 5 active projects, and I want
all under construction.
All under construction.
I've managed 10 plus projects ongoing. That is not easy to do.
No, it's not easy.
It's a lot of moving pieces. You got plumbers and drywalls and HVAC and electricians all over the place every day. So I respect that for sure. So you got 5 active projects going on.
Yep. No rentals, but now we're building that up. Nice. So as we start to kind of see the profit and what capital gains is going to look like, we're starting to get creative on offsetting that. And also understanding that flips are really cool when you see, you know, just last week, I had my biggest profit flip. Nice. So my salary when we started talking, $50K.
I love it.
The profit on that flip, $52K.
I love it, man.
So on one flip. So Now it's like, okay, these big paychecks are great, but now it's really like head looking down 5-10 years.
Yep.
Okay, how do I set myself up, my family up for like serious long-term generational wealth?
Passive residual income.
That's what it's
Money
about.
that people that pay you every single month for the rest of your life. The problem is we get caught up wholesaling and flipping houses and chasing the $20,000, $50,000 profits. We forget about the passive income. And
100%.
it's like saying, would you take 40 grand or 400 a month? It's very difficult to choose the $400 a month option because it's not that much money. But long term, 10, 20, 30 years from now, you will thank yourself 100 times over. That's something I wish over my years.
Yeah.
You know, instead of flipping hundreds of houses, flip like half of those and keep half of those.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
100%.
You know, again, it's a little bit less money today. It's way more money in the future. So you just said you got 2 duplexes.
Yep. 2 duplexes right here off market.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, so I think this is a really good strategy. If you're a first-time flipper, you want to get into this, you can go the route of buying a ton of leads and getting cold callers and texting. What I found for my skill set, is going door to door.
Yep.
So looking at those properties that are distressed that you'd usually write down for your driving for dollars, is I got so ingrained to my property. So those 5 active flips that I have going on are all within a half mile of where we're standing right now.
I love it.
And so you just farm an area. So you find an area that you like, that you're comfortable with, you know it better than anyone else.
Yep.
So that, you know, if a wholesaler sends out a deal or something comes up on the MLS, or, you know, some seller decides that they want to sell, you know that area like the back of your hand, and you can make decisions and you don't have to run through, you don't have to think. Which in this game, to really succeed, you need to be able to make those quick decisions. Exactly.
Yeah, you already know your numbers.
Yep. Yeah, I know. So I knew the second that he gave me the numbers on 2 duplexes that I was going to have those. I'd be 0 in. We're going to be refi out through BRRRR strategy, and then we're going to be in a really good position. So that's how I grew to where we're doing the rehabs that we are now.
So you're actually door knocking.
Yes.
Which is fearful for a lot of people.
Yes, it is. That's how I got started though. So, you know, I had a landscaping business. I printed out little cards, like 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper. Hi, my name's Nick. I cut grass, a bunch of spelling errors, and I passed it out door to door to door. So that's how I got my landscaping business started when I was 12 or whatever.
Get it by any means.
Yes, exactly. But I think it's a really good method because what you learn is these are tight-knit communities. So for door knocking, let's say you go to a distressed property. That person's getting hit up probably 10 calls a day, probably 10 texts a day. They've got mailers, stuff in their mailbox. So just showing up as being a personable person is gonna put you light years ahead.
100%.
Yep. And if they don't know, if they're not interested in selling, cool. Get their number, follow up, and when they're interested, trust me, they're gonna call you. And guess what? If they're not interested in selling and you make a good connection, they know 6 people that may need to sell. And I've seen that as actually my biggest lead source.
I love it.
Is referrals from the places I door knock.
So not driving for dollars, but
knocking for dollars.
I love it. That's the first time I've heard that. So I love it, man.
Knocking for dollars.
And it's working.
It's working incredibly well.
That's awesome, man. So I want to kind of walk around the house, you know, just high level, you know, let's talk like numbers, purchase, rehab, ARV. I'm just kind of give them like an idea of kind of what you do.
Cool.
So where are we at right now?
So we are in the family room of a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath flip, 1160 square feet and 1-car garage. So I purchased this for, with closing costs, about $86,000.
Okay.
I'm gonna have $45,000 into the rehab.
Okay.
So all
That's not that much for a house like this.
No, it's not. So it was actually in really good condition. A lot of the drywall was done. We wanted to put in recessed lighting, so we ripped out all the ceilings in here, and we add can lights. And here was already drywall, Romex wiring.
So did you have to do plumbing, electric, HVAC, or most of it was good?
Most of it was good for the electrical and plumbing.
Nice.
So yeah, I think our all-in cost is about $130, $135 if
Purchase
you want
and rehab.
Purchase, rehab, and financing cost. ARVs sitting at $185, $190.
So you'll make 40, 50 grand.
40, 50 grand.
I love it.
And I'll say this is another really interesting thing if you get to the point where you're farming these areas. I have 3 rehabs going up in this area. They're all 2 1.5 baths or 3 1.5 baths within 200, 300 square feet of each other. I'm setting my comps and controlling the market.
100%.
If you want a 2-3-1 in Franklinton, they're all going to be in the 185, 195 range.
Yeah.
So you're setting the inventory,
100%.
which is, it gives you a lot of control, which is really, really important in this market or in any market.
That's the thing, like people will go in and buy an entire street,
Yeah.
and then they can control the pricing on that street.
Yep.
So that's a beautiful thing. But I did this once. The problem comes in when the first one doesn't sell where you need it to be.
Yep.
You can't cut the price to sell it because then you're screwing yourself with everything else.
Yes.
So I went through that. It sat on the market for like 9 months, but it sold.
Yep.
And then the other ones sold like hotcakes.
Yep.
So you are literally creating your own market.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful thing.
And that was honestly, so that second flip that I took, that was $1,600 profit. That was like the last pocket of Franklinton to be touched. There were really 2 pockets of Franklinton that weren't touched. As you know, it's very segmented.
For sure.
So I said, cool, I'll set a comp here, and then we can start working. And then we can start turning the street. So I bought that house because I knew that we could set the comp for the street and really start turning that pocket.
Yeah.
So I bought the house, door knocking.
Nice.
From that one, that was the $52K profit that we closed last week.
I love it.
And then I bought the house next door, which is going to be a $24K assignment closing next week.
An assignment?
An assignment.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Man, so it's crazy to look back. 16 months ago,
Yep.
like, did you know real estate or just thought it was a good idea?
The only thing I had is I had a personal residence, which I was house hacking.
Got you.
That's
So
all I
you
knew.
Kind of somewhat. You understood.
Yes.
But not like the flipping side of it.
No.
So 16 months ago,
Yeah.
and now you're 13 projects in, you
Yep.
know, made multiple 6 figures.
Yep.
What's a piece of advice for someone that, like, people say it all the time, like, I don't know how to get started. You didn't know
Yep.
16 months ago, and now you're doing perfectly fine.
Yep.
What's advice for someone that doesn't know where to start?
So there's a picture that rings out in my head, and it was in my 7th grade science room, and it was a poster of this little kid, and next to it was like this Major League Baseball player, and it said, every expert was once a beginner.
Oh, I love it. I
Yep.
love it.
And you got to keep that in mind. No one started off, Babe Ruth didn't start knowing how to hit home runs every swing at the bat.
Yep.
Albert Einstein wasn't the best student. I mean, story after story, you just know that it's the work that you put in and day out. You're not supposed to see the results after a day, a week, maybe even a month. If you do, great. But as long as
It's
you...
not normal.
It's not normal.
Yeah.
It's not normal to make 100K on your first flip. Yeah. So that would be my advice, is take the humility of understanding that you're not the expert. Learn and soak up as much as you can, add as much value to the big players and the people that are in the place that you want to be in a year, 3, 5 years.
So get knowledge, add value / find a mentor.
Yep.
Learn, eat dog, SHIT if you
Yeah,
have to,
do it.
to learn the game.
Yep.
And then from growing from like that first deal, were you very nervous on the first deal?
100%. I went into my parents' house and I said, I really don't think that I want to do this anymore. And then as soon as that sold, I was like, well, maybe I'll give another one a try.
For sure.
And I gave the second one a try. And it got to the point where I was working in my 9 to 5 and I couldn't get up anymore.
Yeah.
I just couldn't go back to the man, reporting to someone else,
Yeah.
not set my own schedule. And I just knew that if I kept at it, that it would finally turn. And so I finally had a wholesale deal where I made 26. I brought in a partner and I made 13 from that.
Yeah.
And then I did another similar one where I made like 15. And that was really the first time I profited. Like the 5 and the 1600, like
Yeah,
I would have
that's
been
much.
better filling out online surveys for 10 cents a piece.
For sure.
But when that happened, like I had high interest, 22% credit card debt that I was paying
Yep.
month to month trying to make it happen.
Yep.
And after I hit those, I said, okay, cool. I'm in the free and clear. I'm going to still stay with this 9 to 5,
Yep.
but I know the path.
Yeah.
And you're going to, it gets easier every single day.
When did you quit?
So I actually quit January 1
This year?
this year.
I love it, man.
Yep,
I love
January
it.
1.
Start the new year off right.
Yeah, and here's the thing. At that point, I still wasn't at the point. So even though like we're talking about a 16-month timeline, 9 of the 13 came in 6 months ago.
Yeah.
January 1, 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I still took another job that was actually in real estate because it put me in the community. It put me in front of more players. It gave me a better network. It taught me more.
Yeah.
And it actually kind of acted as that bridge until I finally got up and running to where it is now.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love it. So 16 months ago, you were holding a camera, working a full-time job.
Yes.
Now you're sitting in one of a bunch of projects going on,
Yep.
making hundreds of thousands, a minimum of dollars a year,
Yep.
and free, not having to, go to the man and clock in 9 to 5.
Yeah, absolutely. And it, you know what? If I made the same amount of cash that I did in my 9 to 5, I would still do this.
Yeah.
It's about the freedom.
100%.
It's about the freedom.
You're traveling.
Yep.
Headed to Costa Rica next week.
Yeah, I mean, we're 6 months in, and I'm gonna have 4 weeks out of the country. I never went out of the country until this year.
I love
so
it.
1 month out of the country out of the 6, still growing a big business and growing. So it's just, it's another iteration. And I think that's another thing is you gotta love progress. You gotta be in love with the process.
Yep.
The end result is great, but you have to love the process. You have to want more. You wanna see growth in yourself. And I say that all the time. The money is great.
Yep.
But the process of who you have to become, of getting sharper, learning more, getting better, improving in all areas of your life, that's the real process.
100%.
Business is whatever.
Fall in love with the journey.
Yes, fall in love with the journey.
I love it, man. I love it. So if somebody wants to connect with you, where can they find you on social media?
Instagram @WhiteSlipFlips.
They're not really white no more.
They're not white anymore, but that's it.
We'll tag it in the link in the description @WhiteSlipFlips. Nick Eiffel, 16 months. You can change your life as well. Appreciate you being on, brother.
Thanks.